What's up guys, Sean here, and today I want to talk about how the old media isn't dying, and we shouldn't be rooting for it to be dying. But before we get started, I'm sure you guys have already noticed that I am wearing a fantastically amazing t-shirt. This is the Til Next Time design at my Teespring store, which I launched in my previous video. And while you might be thinking that this shirt may be worth maybe $1 million a shirt, it's actually much less expensive than that. In fact, you can get this shirt, the exact one I'm wearing, for as little as $19.99. And because I believe in dumb promotions, because everything needs a needlessly dumb promotion, if you use the promo code DUMBPROMO, then you can get a 10% off discount off your entire order. Now, as I said in my previous video, these are not just run-of-the-mill designs that I slap together and I expect you guys to buy because it says the name of my channel on it. These are designs that I had contracted out artists in order to make. And the artist behind this one is Chris Happenny. Chris can be found on Twitter at VenomSpider, and he can be found on Instagram at c.d.h.art. He also has his own Etsy store where he sells some of his other artwork, which is in a very similar style to a Dragon Ball Z or anime style. That will also be linked in the description box below of this video. So even if you're not interested in buying a shirt, then please follow him on his social medias and look over his other artwork on his Etsy store, because maybe you don't like this particular thing, but you really like his style, so you can see other things in his own style and help support him. Now, with all that being said, let's get into the main topic of this video. So I've noticed that there's this tendency among many social media commentators on this platform and on other platforms, and amongst their respective audiences, to proclaim that the mainstream media is dying and then celebrate the fact that the mainstream media is dying due to the fact that we don't need them because we have all these alternative media figures that help disseminate information. Now look, I spend a lot of time on this platform criticizing mainstream media members, mainstream media organizations, for what I view to be bad and biased reporting. And particularly, I'm talking about biased reporting that presents itself as fair and objective reporting. Now, because I do this and I have enough people that either like, agree with, support, or respect my opinions enough to support me and watch my videos every time I drop one, I am able to make a living doing commentary about the news, about pop culture, about the media. Now, I'm incredibly grateful that I am fortunate enough to be able to do this for a living. This is what I love doing. These are things that I love talking about. They're topics that I'm interested in. And the fact that I can videotape my thoughts, bring them into editing so I don't sound ridiculous, and then put them out there on the internet and make a living makes me incredibly happy and incredibly grateful. America generally is the greatest country in the history of the world for allowing me to be able to do this and actually make a living. However, there is one thing I don't like about this job, and it's not that I don't like it as in it's a downside of the job. Now, for the most part, I get a ton of positive feedback every time I put up a video. Obviously, there's some negative feedback because anytime you take a political position or give your opinion on a certain topic, there are always going to be people who either like and agree with that position or dislike and disagree with that position. But I'm not too concerned about the negative feedback. One of the things that concerns me is a comment that I see from time to time in my comment sections that is meant to be a positive comment. And it's complimenting me for doing reporting and or doing journalism, which I think is actually one of the major problems in the way that people perceive my videos and videos that other content creators like myself put out. Now, I need to make something clear, and I need to make it clear on behalf of all other commentators that do news commentary on this platform or other social media platforms. We are not journalists. We are not journalists. We do not go out, interview witnesses, find sources, and then report information to the public like journalists do. We are commentators that rely on journalists for information in order to make our commentary on. We are opinion givers. We are essentially internet pundits, not reporters. In fact, if you go into the description box of 99% of the videos I put out on this channel, you'll find a tab that says sources, and underneath that tab, you'll find link after link to a number of sources where I got the information from before I decided to make a video about that information. Now, occasionally, and I mean very occasionally, I or other content creators on this platform or on other platforms may do stuff that resembles journalism or technically qualifies as journalism, but that is the exception. It is not the rule. The videos where I go and find the original court documents in order to give you a better assessment of the details of a case do not make up the vast majority of the videos that I do. A lot of times I rely on media reports, and sometimes I go from the media reports to the original documents to confirm it or to dispute the media reports, but most of the time, that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing commentary based on the reporting of actual journalists, because I don't have a team to go out into the world to get me information. Which leads me to my next point, which is I don't have a team to go out in the world and gather facts and information in order for me to present it in these videos. Which means that me and other commentators on this platform are reliant on mainstream media outlets, these big multinational corporations, to spend the necessary resources in order to send people out and get the proper information so that we can repackage it and give you our opinion on it for us to make a living. So while it is fun to mock CNN for their low ratings or to laugh at BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, and Vice having to lay off so many people and comparing their business model to our business model, which appears to be growing every year, it needs to be pointed out that what we do is cheap, but more importantly, it's something that's cheap that is completely dependent on the expenses that other mainstream outlets take in order to produce content for their sites. I, as well as all of the commentators on this platform and other social media platforms where you might get your news and information from, need the mainstream media in order to do what we do. But the mainstream media doesn't need us to do what they do. The fact is, opinion is cheap to produce and it's easy to sell, while journalism is incredibly expensive, and a lot of times opinion completely relies on the expensive practice of journalism. I mean, look at the Young Turks. They did news commentary for over a decade before they decided to go out and hire a journalist. And when they were fundraising for their 4 journalism teams, they were so proud of the fact that they raised $2 million. And the Young Turks, according to the Young Turks, has a huge audience that makes the mainstream media's audience completely irrelevant. But shortly after they raised the money in order to hire the journalists, the Young Turks had to lay off 50% of their staff and shut down a ton of their long-running programs, because it turns out journalism is expensive.
I have an announcement for you guys. Hence the bugle. We are starting TYT Investigates. Okay, so remember guys, we raised $2 million from the audience, from you guys, to do more investigative reporting. But we've got a new channel now that is starting called TYT Investigates, and that is for hardcore investigative journalism. So we're gonna look into some of the largest companies in the world and in this country. We're gonna look into certainly the largest politicians in the country, some of the bureaucrats that are making the decisions. We're gonna go cover those hard stories that unfortunately I believe a lot of the establishment media still leaves uncovered. And they don't have investigative reporters in the building. They have people who go on the campaign trail. They have people who go and ask questions at press conferences, but there's almost no investigative reporting done at the cable news stations. So you guys stepped to the plate. You helped us hire a lot of folks. So that team can't wait to get going, and they are. So it begins today, and we will throughout the week have different stories for you guys about how what you see on television from some of those corporate leaders as they support some of Trump administration policies are not true. Real hardcore investigative journalism done with facts, done with investigations into the different notes and memos, etc., of some of the government and business officials. You're gonna love it.
We had all these wonderful shows that we believed in and that I thought we could make it work. It proved to be a little bit too ambitious on my part, and so that's on me.
But it's not just the far left that gets this wrong. It's people from across the political spectrum. Look at Tim Pool, who is somebody I respect a lot. He gets this wrong all the time, despite the fact that he used to be a journalist. Every time they bring up the fact that the mainstream media is dying, Tim Pool says it in such a celebratory way, despite the fact that the way he makes a living is by reading articles from the mainstream media from his home and putting it up on his channel at least 600 times a day. Now look, I'm not trying to attack anybody or make fun of anybody. I enjoy media commentary as much as anybody else. In fact, I enjoy it so much that I decided this is something that I would want to do for a living. But you'd be hard pressed to find better examples of people consistently biting the hand that feeds them than people in the news commentary business. Like most of you, I want a less biased, more honest media than we currently have in this country. A lot of the problems that people have with organizations like CNN and other mainstream media outlets is that they pretend to be objective when they are pushing the politics of the Democratic Party. So I understand the appeal of people like me and other people on this platform and all other platforms that are straight up honest about their positions, about their opinions, and about their perspective when they deliver you information, as compared to people who lie to you and tell you that they're just giving you the facts when they're clearly giving you their political opinion. But we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The fact is, we all need the mainstream media in order to function. We all need journalists and original reporting, people to go out into war zones to gather information in order for us to be able to do our jobs. You can't compare how inexpensive it is for somebody like me or one of my contemporaries to produce videos from their home or their home studios to how expensive it is to fly a team of journalists across the world to gather information. These are vast multi-million-dollar operations, and the overwhelming majority of the work that's actually important is almost inevitably going to operate at a loss. It's important to root for a better media. It's important to acknowledge that online commentators are not a better media. And it's also important to acknowledge that if these mainstream media outlets all die, so will the commentators that you love. Anyway, that's all I really have for you guys today. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. If you like this video, then please show me by leaving a like. If you want to support me, you can do so via one-time donation on PayPal or Venmo, or you can buy my shirts, or you could support me monthly through Patreon or Subscribestar. This has been me talking about the necessity of the mainstream media. Till next time.